Welcome back to another AB Barbecue Show with the Hockey Coach, your coach FRENCHY, directly from the beautiful country of Thailand. We are missing someone. I don't know what is happening to him. I'm going to try to figure out this. It will pop up. Here we go. He was behind the green room. Welcome back, Mr.
Door number 2
from Ottawa. And, of course, our big friends from Toronto and the cavemen, somewhere, somehow, Mr. ENORTAP, are back in the house.
Hey guys,
hello, Coach. Hello, Marko.
The first ever HABS barbecue. I wanted to make a special entrance.
Here we go. That's the reason behind that. Maybe you just finished your barbecue on the from the outside. That's maybe happening about that one. First of all, guys, if you want to follow us, the Hockey Nation live show, we call the App Nation during the summertime, Monday and Wednesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time. We talk only about the Montreal Canadiens. So they are the two specific shows we have during the summer. So if you want to join us, that would be the great one. And then the Sunday and Tuesday, we talk about the NHL around the league. Plus, we're going to have Montreal for sure. But they are the four specific nights. The Thursday are optional. So when we're still in the hockey, we're going to talk about we'll be live tomorrow night. And then next week, because it's an NHL draft. But after that, it's going to be a little bit slower for the summer. We're going to use only 4 nights per week during the summer. So this is a bit the schedule of the Hockey Nation live show. But we have a great show tonight. First of all, guys, I'm going to give you the subject of the night for everybody. And it's going to be the Habs Montreal Canadiens, the 2023 draft preview. Go to check about all the picks we got for the Montreal Canadiens. 11 picks they have for the upcoming draft. We're going to talk about who do you think the Montreal should select, or maybe what Canadiens can do at the draft. So that will be the subject the night. And don't forget, guys, every day I'm doing Ab Daily News. Today I make another video about the Montreal Canadiens trade with the Winnipeg Jets for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And the reason behind that and what could happen or not could happen, and the reason what Canadiens is looking for a new center with the team. And finally, guys, if you don't know, we tried to building another channel called the App Nation. It's not really active right now, but we want to have the people subscribe for the channel. So it's going to be a little bit happening for the season number 4. So that would be a new concept we bring on the table. So we'll see how it's going to turn around. So anything you want to talk about this, please don't forget. I think Luciano put the link inside of this chat for that one over there. But ladies and gentlemen, less further ado to welcome everybody before we start. And you know you're really excited to talk about what happened with the Montreal Canadiens. But before that, let's go welcome back Steve G from Denver. Says too late at 10 o'clock. I apologize, we make a mistake. We start the show a little bit earlier, 1 hour, but obviously we make a mistake. So we change it and we start always at 9 o'clock. If ever Steve, he come back, welcome back in the house, by the way. The Monahan, Luciano, GRAZIANO is in the house. Thanks so much. The deal, no deal, but we have the real deal. That's welcome back. Thanks so much to subscribe. Nicolas de Goubi-Bonneau, the leader of the FRENCHY quiz, is in the house. Originaire de la belle région de Sherbrooke, dans la belle province de Québec. Jake McAnoo, he is in the house tonight. What's fun about Jake, guys, is like his emoji is changing all the time. And I like to see that from him. Funny about this one over there. Talk to Mr. David Archer is in the house. Welcome back, David. Thanks to be with the Hockey Nation Live Show. What about Robert Allen? He's already missing hockey already. I agree with you. We're missing game for sure. Let's just check in. Mr. The Road Runner back in the house. Gary Cournoyer, thank you so much. RJ Calabro is back in the house. CC, welcome back. Thanks to be with the Hockey Nation Live Show. Try to pick it up, everybody. Black Dragon, followed by Jeremy Allard. Jeremy Allard live in somewhere in the north of Canada. Can't remember the city he talked about, but I know it's cold over there. That's the only thing I know about that one over there. That's what I remember the most. What about our friend Randy Walkman? Randy's going to be, we tried to catch him, bring him next week in ENORTAP and MARKO at the night of the draft. Live with us a couple hours, so we're going to ask him to join us next week. We're going to email him. We appreciate a lot everybody in the chat. So that's what we got tonight. Let's start in first subject of the night, guys. It's happening yesterday. The Monahan deal. He signed a 1-year contract at $1.985 million plus $15 performance bonus. Going to talk about this, but that's happening. I would like to have your reaction. I know some of you talk about this the last couple of days, but maybe from MARKO first, following by ENORTAP. What do you think about the deal from Sean Monahan?
I have to say, Coach, I'm a little surprised. For those who watched last Wednesday, I wasn't super, really kind of believing that this would happen. To be honest, but I think it's a great deal. Very low risk for Montreal. What it tells me is I don't imagine, like, even though technically his agent, they're not allowed to be talking to other teams until after July 1st, but I think we all know that does still happen, and agents still, kind of whisper behind the scenes and talk to other teams. So to me, what this says is I think Monahan, there may not have been a market for him, for a longer deal. Hard to say, but I think this is a really good deal. I think when he's healthy, like, he's obviously a very popular teammate. One of my favorite things from last year, I don't know if anybody saw this, but the video of Kirby Dach where he's yelling in the dressing room saying, "You're my favorite player, buddy. Monty, you're my favorite player." So you can tell he's very, very comfortable in the dressing room with all the players. So I think it's a really good move, very low risk for Montreal, and just high ceiling in terms of what they can do. So good deal. Maybe Monahan felt like he owed something to Montreal after kind of being a little bit selfish and playing on that broken foot, and then aggravating his groin from there. So maybe he felt like he needed to kind of pay back a little bit, either the Habs fans or the Habs management, for kind of the mistake that he made last year. But either way, great news. So really happy to see it. Very excited.
Awesome. So that.
Absolutely, it was a fantastic deal, and I think we approached this topic on the Sunday brunch as well. And at that point, I said, you know what? If we can get him between 2.5 and 3 million, that's going to be a really good deal for us. Well, guess what? We got him under 2 million. And I know that there's some bonuses in there, which is a creative way of getting him a little bit extra money as well. But what it does is it covers a number of different areas for Montreal. Number one, it makes his contract very, very attractive. If at trade deadline time, if he's having a decent year, they want to obviously trade him and acquire some assets, be it draft picks or prospects. That it definitely will be very enticing for teams to pick up, a centerman that can play at any of the three lines at center. So I think that's great. But for Montreal, more importantly, like we said, you can't have a team of rookies or youngsters, right? You need a voice of experience in the change room. You need some players that have been around and they know how to circumvent difficult obstacles that come along during the year. He's a great leader. He can get points if he stays healthy. It's a win-win situation for both players. And I thought that he really enjoyed his stay here, and by signing this contract, it sort of validates that.
Awesome. Both of you. A lot of things I want to talk about this, but one reason Shawman want to come back with the Montreal Canadiens, guys, is exactly what he said last night, but during the press conference. He talked about the fact, I think it's just really the ball. He's easy to talk about the Martin Saint-Louis. He really understanding the game, especially to the game I play against him, and he did not play that long ago. And I think you look at his resume, he's a Hall of Fame player, he's a Hall of Fame person. So he's somebody you can lean on. He wants you to get better. He help you get better. And I think having that kind of coach, the way he run practice, his energy, his enthusiasm, his positive mode, every day, it make you really want to succeed and work for him. That's what Martin Saint-Louis bring, guys. Not only as Sean Monahan, but everybody talk like this about Sean, about Martin Saint-Louis, Josh Anderson, and many others. That's what Martin Saint-Louis is so crucial, is so important for the Montreal Canadiens at the time of the rebuilding. And that's one reason why Sean Monahan decided to stay with the Montreal Canadiens. The security about this. The contract is at $2 million, by the way. It's not at 1.985. He got a performance bonus of $15,000 with the contract for play 26 game if he play. And the reason behind that, guys, why he did not get more or why he did not get is because that performance bonus carry on to the following year when you access the salary cap. So if you're under the salary cap, you have maybe a couple of $1,000 and you have a performance bonus to pay, you don't get penalized. Example, the Boston Bruins now for the upcoming year have to pay almost $4 million because the performance bonus they gave to Bergeron and Krejci. So why do you do that? But they try to minimize the salary cap at the lower cost for the performance bonus. But when they pay them, the following year they have to pay that performance. That's the reason why the $15,000 is just because they don't want to access them more at $2 million, and that performance bonus guys carry on the following team if they trade the players. So they could not give a $2 million performance bonus at Monahan because if they trade him, the team got him now have to pay. So it's really strange how this works. At least it's a 50-50 remaining. I don't want to go more deep, but this is a principle what can use again. His experience like an agent and where the people work with him make this possible. And again, it's a lower cost for the Montreal Canadiens. On the flip side, the Monahan is a great hockey player, bring leadership, like you just said, Marko, inside the locker room. And that's what they need. You can have only a team with only rookies or few experience as hockey player. You need veterans. He's going to be another Anderson, another Savard, Madison, Allen. You need those players around the rookies or the young players to play with the Montreal Canadiens for the upcoming season. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised if you have a good season. Montreal maybe keep him ENORTAP. And I will tell you why behind that. Montreal Canadiens, guys, in 2024, they are right now at the top of they cannot add more picks. At some point, it will not work anymore. So this is 2024. Yeah. This is the way now they're going to changing the mindset, because that will be about 4 years, 5 years. Every year they get a 10, 12, 13, 14 pick. That's too much at some point. And I feel like now money impossible. They will maybe keep him if really he become, he does a good year and they feel like, you know what, we maybe need him the following year. I feel, in my opinion, it could become another Jordan star for the Montreal Canadiens in the future if he stay out of the injuries. He's a really good hockey player. He's only 29 years old, by the way. It's just injury could be a problem for him. But I don't say they're not going to trade him, but don't be surprised if they keep him around the team because of that situation. So I don't know what you think about my statement about that for the trade deadline, Marko ENORTAP.
I think it's possible.
I agree with that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's possible for sure. Like it really, the proof's going to be in the pudding, like you said, with his health and everything, right? Ultimately, I'm curious what this means in terms of the rest of the summer, though, right? Like, so I agree that it does signal something with respect to, and Hughes has said it at the end of the year last year, right? Like, he wants to see the team take an extra step. They don't want to finish bottom 5 again next year. Coach, I know that you want them to finish bottom 5, but I don't think that's part of the plan. So, to me, this is a signal that they're following through on that they're kind of shoring up the roster a little bit. By no means does this mean are they going to start signing, like a UFA or something like that. But it does. I'm sure we're going to talk about Dubois a bit later. But what is this signal in terms of Dubois? Is this like an insurance policy? Is it kind of like a signal that they're sending to the Jets saying, listen, like we're not hurting for center depth that much. Like there's already been some language out there saying that they've told the Jets, like, we're perfectly willing to wait till next year for Dubois, right? So not only what does it mean for Dubois, but what does it mean in terms of their strategy at the draft? You know, are they still going to be targeting a center? I don't think they should be drafting by need. But if Monahan is part of the plan, it sets a lot of other things in motion, like Dvorak. What are they going to do with Dvorak now? Like, I know you can never have too many centers, but sometimes you can have too many centers.
Yeah, it'll be the next thing after that. But yeah, I understand. And I'll tap just quickly to finish with Monahan deal.
Yeah, no, I agree that they probably could use him on a multi-year contract down the road. He's obviously a safe bet to have in the dressing room, like I said earlier. I think more than anything, it sort of does signal that something is in motion in terms of a possible trade. It makes Dvorak a little bit more expendable now. They can always play Monahan on the wing if they had to, if Dvorak stayed. But I think their big picture, and again, I could be wrong on this, but I think their big picture is to try to move up at the draft and acquire one of the two big centermen that are available. Now, if I'm Anaheim, that's something I would think long and hard about. I don't think it's as preposterous as some people are saying, where they say, you know, the top four positions, they're not going to give it away. Because if they're really after Michkov and they're willing to wait, Anaheim is, then Montreal can easily acquire either Carlson or Fantilli at that spot, and Anaheim acquires some added value. And they get the player that they wanted from the get-go. So don't count that out. And if they get that centerman, then Dubois becomes an afterthought. If they don't get that move up on the draft, then I think it's something that they might be exploring.
ENORTAP, are you referring to that report that Anaheim, you know, because Pat Verbeek, you know, has worked with Yzerman before, so therefore he's not afraid to make bold moves, like that whole thing. So people are kind of
partially.
Yeah,
partially. I mean, sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire, right? And so I think that they're doing their due diligence in terms of kicking tires and seeing what will it take to move up to number 2 or even number 4, whatever the case might be. But rest assured that they're going to have definite plan A, B, and C, and a lot for Pierre-Luc Dubois will hinge on what happens with Montreal at the draft.
Go ahead again.
Maybe. Yeah, like I think that I don't know. Like I get a sense that this Pierre-Luc Dubois thing is going to play out before the draft. I think, you know, I think Montreal wants to go to the draft knowing exactly kind of what their plan is. I think Los Angeles, who seems to be the other major player here, doesn't want to, you know, kind of wait around and be the you know, kind of like the girl that doesn't have a dance partner either. I get a feeling that this Pierre-Luc Dubois thing might resolve itself faster than we think. I don't think it might happen at the draft, but I get a feeling that it might even happen before that. And I think that would be good for Montreal just to have clarity on that whole situation. I know personally, I'll be very, very happy that we don't have to talk about him anymore. It's probably just as annoying about how much we had to talk about Price when he was injured and stuff like that. Like, you know, it would just be nice to get some clarity on what's going to happen with that guy so that we can kind of move on. So I'm hoping that it gets resolved pretty quickly here.
Yeah, Pierre-Luc Dubois, we said to you, the difference between Pierre-Luc Dubois for the Winnipeg Jet is, remember, guys, Alebach and Sheffley have already a contract for next year, right? So they can push back him. On the Dubois side, they maybe not. And he's a good trade bait to get a first-round pick in return if ever they trade him during the NHL draft for 2023. So I think if I have a move, I will not be surprised it's happening at the trade at the NHL draft next week, where they maybe trade Dubois somewhere. The problem with Montreal Canadiens is I think you little bit talking about this, But the Ken Hughes plan, and I think I have something about Ken Hughes plan later, but it just is looking for a center. So if he can move up to get a center, or he's thinking he can get a center, he will plug after that. If it's not, is Pierre-Luc Dubois is maybe option B, I would say to you, for him. Now they have, of course, the difference between, I make a trade bait yesterday between them and the Montreal Canadiens, where the Montreal sent Dvorak, the first round pick 31st, and they send the prospect Harris for the Montreal Canadiens, and maybe another one, whatever they need, something. But if you look at the history of the move up and NHL anyway, you can see what kind of player you can get in return, the 3 players in return. Remember, guys, whatever we thinking, Pierre-Luc Dubois is a great hockey player. He still get only 63-point average per season for the last 2 years, and he only scored about 25 to 27, 28 points. So at some point, you have limit, right? You cannot only give 2 first-round pick. We're going to give Cooley, Byron, everybody. You have to respect what you think. I think Ken Hughes is limited, and he can only afford. I would say, honestly, I'll be honest with you, if really Montreal want him, they will already make the trade, or they will trade maybe Kirby Doc for Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Jesus, that would be terrible.
Resistant
I would not do that.
If they are resistant to trade Kirby Doc or someone else, right? It's because they are some concern about Pierre-Luc Dubois. That's what I believe for me. Secondly, I would say for the end of Pierre-Luc Dubois is they will try to wait next season, next year. The Pierre-Luc Dubois make a big mistake at the end of the day. Is because he should sign 1 more year with the Winnipeg Jet, and then after that become UF free, and now he can go anywhere. Now he's limited.
But the Jets would never do that, though. They would never sign him to a 1-year deal, because then you think that they have no leverage now. Imagine how little leverage they would have if they did that, right? It's pretty much just hanging yourself with your own rope. So you might as well, it's very much like the Tkachuk situation, right? Like, you can critique the guy, right? But it just seems like it's kind of unfair. Like, listen, like I think I've been on the record. I don't think Dubois is a good fit in Montreal, but I don't buy so much into this whole thing that he's a baby and all that stuff about him wanting to, like, this is not new. Like, why is Tkachuk a hero and totally well respected when he did basically the same thing to the Calgary Flames? Right?
That's
positive. You're basically telegraphing to your organization, listen, I'm not going to sign here, so I'll work with you to try to at least give you guys some assets on the way back. Like, you could argue that, the real bad guy in a situation like that is Johnny Gaudreau, right? Like, he didn't do that. He kind of led on the Flames all the way till July 1st, and they ended up with nothing for him, right? So I don't think Dubois is a villain in this whole thing, just because he wants to call his shots. Like, that's just how the game is nowadays. Like, the NHL is becoming more and more like the NBA, right? In terms of player autonomy, and you can like it or you can dislike it, but it's just the reality, and until the.
But think about this. I disagree with that, because if you have a trade deadline and you trade Pierre-Luc Dubois, what do you get in return? A first-round pick. You're going to get an A prospect. For me, I would say, Pierre-Luc Dubois, I'm going to give you a contract of $7 million. Pierre-Luc Dubois, he wants to play Montreal. So he signed his contract, RFA. He got $7 million for 1 year, and then he's free. He can go to Montreal. That's what he wants to do. Winnipeg Jets, so that's all right. I'm going to trade you in February. I'm going to get a first-round pick and a prospect in return. So the Winnipeg win at the end of the day. Now they're going to get maybe Villari and Thursday, whatever they want to do for the Winnipeg, for the Kings. But Pierre-Luc Dubois put himself in that way. If you really, really want to play Montreal, that would be the way to do that. Now he's stuck. He cannot play Montreal. He put Montreal on the bad situation. They're not going to give a Cooley or Dak or something like that. So at the end of the day,
of course not.
I think it was maybe a bluff. At the end, I don't know. But it could be a bluff for Pierre-Luc Dubois to use a Montreal Canadien and to get that kind of way he wants to get out and to get some more money somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, we called that move the Danny Briere move, right? That's the classic Danny Briere switcheroo.
Yeah, a lot of it is posturing as well. Like his agent Brisson is playing it up in the media and introducing LA. I just don't know how serious LA is about it. I'm sure they have some interest and have probably inquired in terms of what it would take, but I mean, rest assured, they're not going to take that same opportunity if they know that he's going to go there and maybe it's a team that he doesn't want to play for, and you're going to get the same repetition of what happened the last two teams that he's played on. So, I think in this case, Winnipeg cannot be too selective in terms of what they want or are asking for, because they're not going to get it. Like Montreal's case, why would you give them some of your best prospects or even picks when you know you can get them the following year, even if you have to overpay them and get them for 8-9 million? At least you're not going to lose any assets in the process.
And one thing that we don't talk enough about, guys, like, because I think we all get distracted by what I call the parlor game, like the drama, the soap opera around this whole thing. But let's talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois, the hockey player, for a minute, right? Like, I think, Coach, you just mentioned it. Like he's an average, like he's above average, kind of point producer guy. But both of you said, like, okay, so Hughes, this is his plan B or maybe his plan A for a center. I've said this before, guys. You might not agree with me. I'm not exactly sure he's a center. Like, he's not really that good at faceoffs.
That's fine.
So like, to me, like, is he really the solution that you're looking for as a center? Like, he's inconsistent physically. Like, he can play the game a great way, right? But he doesn't bring it all the time. I don't think he has the hockey IQ necessarily to be an elite centerman. He's more of a power forward, which is great. I'm not saying Pierre-Luc Dubois is not a good hockey player. I'm not saying that he's a unique hockey player that would be very valuable. I think he would be a great player to have on the wing with Suzuki and with Caulfield. I think he would fit perfectly there. Although I do think that that's where they have Slafkovsky playing, maybe not next year, but certainly that's, I think, why they drafted Slafkovsky. So I don't know, like, beyond the drama of, okay, is he going to come? How much is it going to cost? Like, the whole kind of situation around Winnipeg being in a tough position. I don't think a lot of people just really focus in on, is he actually a center? Your Montreal says they want a center. Look at his. I don't know.
I think he is, Marco. I understand your point. He definitely does make a good power forward, and if you put him on the wing, it gives you that added dimensionality and physicality to the game. But I wouldn't say he's not a centerman. He does play decently defensively. He gets involved all the time. I mean, I know we have reservations based on what he's done with the last two teams, but as Coach mentioned earlier, you know what? This is the direction. Unfortunately, we're starting to see today's players going. And I mean, if he wants to play here, he's going to have to prove it day in and day out, because the media here in Montreal will not let him rest without questioning to the nth degree what's going on here. So this guy's got to bring it, or he's going to suffer.
I love that line that Brian Burke has about being in Montreal, that when you're the general manager or the coach, but I guess this goes for players too, is that when you're in Montreal, you're an idiot twice, once in French and once in English.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. We're going to move on with the last one before we go to the draft, guys. Is it the end of Christian Dvorak with the Montreal Canadiens? You mentioned earlier, Marco, awesome. We have 6 centers right now, including Monahan, Doc, Suzuki, Jake Evan, Owen Beck is a part behind. And so how do you feel about Christian Dvorak? He's become maybe the trade bait with Joel Munson and Mike Hoffman, but that's a subject for another time. What do you feel about Christian Dvorak? Let's go with ENORTAP.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I do believe that he makes a very attractive trade piece for Montreal if they decide to go that direction. He's only I think he's got just one more year after this year on his contract. It's a very respectable amount. He's a solid third line centerman. He will not hurt you defensively. He'll get his 45 to 55 points a year, especially if he stays healthy. So he's not going to hurt you. And many teams, that's the kind of depth player that they want down the middle at trade deadline time, or earlier if they can get it. In this case, that could be a possibility if Monahan obviously is here and makes him a little bit more expendable now, Dvorak.
Coach, I think I told you this last week. This topic hurts my brain. I hate talking about it because we know that Dvorak is basically the result of us squandering our third overall pick to begin with, right? So we had a third overall pick. We didn't choose the right player, but then we chose. So then we, problem. Yeah. So first of all, we didn't choose the right player, but then on top of that, the player that we did choose got an offer sheet. We didn't match it. We didn't manage him very well, to be honest. Like I think Ducharme didn't really do a good job with him, to be honest. And you could see that Kotkaniemi didn't like the way that he was treated. I don't think Bergevin did a good job of managing him either. So after, what should be a really strong organizational move, or like a cornerstone of your franchise, drafting someone third overall, all we're going to be left with is with whatever we get for Dvorak. Let's all take a minute to mourn that. And Coach,
or rejoice. You never know.
I don't know. Like, Coach, I think you nailed it last time we talked about this. Just look at what, Washington got for Eller last year. It's going to be something in that range. I think they got a second-round pick. Maybe they get a little bit more, maybe like a prospect in a second-round pick, because Dvorak is a bit younger and does have, again, a really good AAV and another year left. So for a team like Colorado that could really use some depth at center, I think that would be a really attractive asset. But either way, it's a diminishing asset. We started off with a third-round pick, and we're going to end up with nothing, really. Because we all know about that. Yeah, it hurts. I don't like. Can we not bring this up anymore? Can we not talk about it anymore? Because it pisses me off.
We're forgetting he has contributed over the years. It's not as if he's been a total dud. Like, he's contributed to the team. He hasn't been horrible. Let's put it this way. He's produced more points than Kotkaniemi would have given us. Yeah, at half the price.
Yeah, but my point, Dvorak. My point, ENORTAP, is I almost called you Dvorak. I don't mean to center my anger around you. It's not. Yeah, like again, it's not like I dislike Dvorak as a player. And I was very aware of. I knew what we were getting when we traded for him. People thought that he was going to be a replacement for Philippe Danault, and that's just not the case. But yeah, like, is he a good player? Sure. Did he contribute? But like, what did we do over the last 2 years? Like, we weren't even a playoff team during that time, right? So I don't really see that he contributed anything. Like, he contributed stuff, but it was in a phase of our development that is meaningless. We took a third overall pick that was supposed to be the cornerstone, an important piece of our franchise. And was he a decent player during that time? Yeah, but this is not the time that you need that asset to blossom and to be part of your organization, right? So if we get a second round pick, it's like a 13% chance or something that player even makes the NHL. And if they do, it will probably be like 3-4 years from now. So
great point about this. We welcome everybody. Thanks to be with us. We have Nick Larivière in the chat. Thanks, Nick, to be with us. Hey, and then they talk a lot about in the chat, guys, about the draft. So we're going to shifting very quickly. The only thing, Marco, you forgot to mention about Dvorak, Bergevin, when he lost Kotkaniemi, he was looking for center because they lost Philippe Danault at the same time. And they did not have anybody behind that. And they will try to fill up the spot over there. So
That's panic. That's a
that was the
move.
move behind the reason why Bergevin have no elaboration. He wanted to do fast, everything like that. Again, Bergevin, he never study a lot. He never do some search. He just go with emotion and feeling, and he go that way. But that's the reason I believe they go with Christian Dvorak. In my opinion, he's a solid, great center number 3, and he can pick it up at number 2 when you need it. So he cannot play number 2 a full 82 game for a really good team in NHL. For the half of the team, he can hang in there. But he's really a great third center in the NHL, in my opinion. But to get, a first-round pick and a third-round pick, at that moment, I think Bergevin missed it. But let's move on, guys. For the next thing we will be sure we got is... hold on here. What do we get here? But tonight we want to talk about the 2023 NHL draft preview. We're going to talk about everything. I know a lot of people in the chat, guys, talking. We're going to pick it up, you guys, the next couple of minutes. But use plan. We have 1 week right now, 7 days. Now this is the time with everybody lie. Right? Everybody lie. Every GM lie right now. They tell you, they ask a question, what do you think? And they will say yes, yes. They fake it to make it. That's the point behind that. And everybody assume now they're thinking about this guy, this guy, this guy. But Ken Hughes make a big splash last year. They trade Romanov, they got Kirby Doc, and then after that, everybody's thinking we'll get Shane Wright, and they go with Slavkovsky. Now, what's the plan next week, guys? They trade or not? They move up, they move down. They don't go nowhere. They keep the 5th overall pick. This is the first thing. After that, we're going to go to the next thing. We're going to go with 5th overall pick, 31st overall pick, 37th overall pick, and 69th overall pick. Who do you think Montreal should select or that area? So this is a subject for the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, guys. And the chat going to pick you up your question for sure. So let's start with Mr. MARKO about this one. What is the plan for Ken Hughes?
Well, one of my favorite movies is Draft Day, right? Like I would pay a lot of money just to be a fly on the wall, during the whole process, right? It must be so fascinating to just be part of it, understand kind of what the strategy is going to be. I'm sure that they have diagrams, like all these crazy diagrams of all the different situations that could happen, which, if this player's gone here, it's like, I'm sure this crazy logic tree. And, I watched Steve Yzerman's press conference a couple days ago on YouTube. And, they were asking him a bunch of questions about how they prep for the draft. And it's just so fascinating. So to me, I think the plan for Kent Hughes going into the draft is have not just one plan, have like 50 different plans. You need all the communications. You need to do all your homework, know exactly what each team is looking to accomplish. What are they looking for? What are they willing to give away? You need to have all these deals ironed out, and you go in and it's like you said, everybody lies at this time of year. So you can't trust your own mother at the NHL draft, right? Like you're going in there and, you have a plan for everything. So, it looks like it was pretty impressive performance by Hughes last year. As we all know, that was the theatrics of what he did last year. That's a really high bar. So in a way, he must kind of feel some pressure, right? Like, how do you top what you did last year? Like, I know obviously he had the 1st overall pick, but can you think of a more dramatic moment in the draft, maybe since like the Sedin twins, like remember when Brian Burke did like 3-4 trades so that he could position himself so that he could draft the Sedins like back to back? I don't know if we're going to get lucky and see really, really exciting stuff like that again. I hope that we do, but it's not something that happens every year, right? So, hey, let's cross our fingers and hope that something cool happens like that. So I know this is very vague, but it's so hard to predict what's going to happen. So what I'm hoping that they're really focused on is just really have a good idea of what all the teams want to do, have all your homework done. I think personally, like Coach, I know I've been talking about this the last couple weeks. My hope is that who they're really targeting is Zach Benson. I'm in love with this man. I think he's You know, unless they're going to trade up to, unless they're going to trade up to number 2 or 3, if we're staying at 5, or, so if they're not moving up past 5, either I'm taking Benson at 5, or if I'm confident that I can bump down to, say, number 9 and still get him, that's what I'm doing all day.
Good point. And out that.
I don't think Benson goes that high personally. I think if Montreal trades down, then you might have an opportunity to get Benson at that point. I would not get him 1 to 5. Again,
Benson right now, number 5 on Bob McKenzie's aggregate list. He's number 5 right now.
Yeah, well, the Hockey News has him around 8 or 9 right now. But you know what? He's 5'9", Marko. Yes, he's very dynamic. We'll agree to disagree on that, I guess. But in my eyes, like, you got 5 solid picks. You can't go wrong with the first 5 picks of this draft. You know, if you're going to stay put and you're going to get number 5 and Michkov is available, I still maintain to this day it's a no-brainer. You take Michkov, and you have to try to hit that home run, and I think it'll pay off dividends in the end. If not, I agree. Hughes has to have multiple plans in place here. And I do believe that this will probably be, and not just from Montreal's perspective, but from the entire NHL perspective, it'll probably be one of the most active draft that we've had in a long, long time. Probably one of the most active. And I say that because we've already had 5, I think, general managers change teams. Each one's going to want to come into their new team and want to make an impact and say, look, I'm going to get rid of what I saw as an outsider was giving you guys problems. And you can look at Toronto starting there. I think something's going to happen from that perspective. You can look at Calgary. You can look at even Ottawa with new management. They might take some serious moves. The Brinket might be a part of that. With Montreal, I would not doubt it. I still believe that they're going to try to get one of the big centermen. I think that's their plan A. Plan B, if it's worth it and they trade down, it's going to be something that is going to be worthwhile and fits their plan. Otherwise, you stay at 5 and you get Michkov. Like, you really cannot lose here.
Can we address? So I'm looking in the chat, right, and everybody's like talking about we have to stop drafting small players and everything else. Okay, let's really talk about this. So, other than Carlson and Fantilli, pretty much all the players that we're talking about here, none of them are over 6 feet. Will Smith is 6 feet on the nose, so he's literally 2 inches.
Yeah. Okay,
this is 2 inches, guys. Like, this is roughly 2 inches here, about that. So he's about this taller than Benson.
But Marko, in the last
it makes a difference.
15 years, no team play an NHL win the Stanley Cup with 2 players top 6 with a player under 5'10". Okay. So if you add a Michkov, if you add a Benson, you already have Cole Caulfield inside your first top 6. So what are you going to do now? Mark Chasser was the only one at 5'9", barely 5'9", but they don't have. You don't win with forward. So you have Michkov or Benson, or you trade Caulfield. You can have both of them. Nobody have them. We screw up. We lose Brandy Tkachuk for Kotkaniemi. We have a chance to pick a Leonard, go through the wall right now, and we're going to go with a 5'9" players again. I don't
Leonard
get it.
is 5'10". No, but Leonard is the same height as Benson. I don't. Why do people?
No. He's 5'11", 0.75.
Leonard's 5'11". Yeah.
It's 5'11", 0.75. Leonard.
Are you telling me that you're not taking a player because he's this much shorter than another player? Honestly.
No, I'm talking about a small player. You don't win with 2 small players. Who is going to get the puck? It's not Nizuki, it's not Caulfield, it's not Michkov, it's not Benson.
That's why, but no, that's why I like Benson. It's all like, so who's going to go get the puck? It's not going to be Will Smith. I'll tell you that. It's not. So just because Will Smith is this taller than Zach Benson doesn't mean that he has the heart and the competition, the spirit of competition to go in and battle for pucks. If you watch Benson play, in addition to being an elite offensive player, he's like Gallagher-like when it comes to battling and winning pucks. That's what I love about this kid. Now, listen, ENORTAP, we've talked about Michkov before. Like, I think we all agree Michkov is the second most skilled player in the draft. But for those of people who are saying that we can't draft small players, you know, like Michkov is much smaller than Benson is, both weight-wise and height-wise.
Yeah, he's 5'10", but
you're talking about a super elite, Marco. You cannot categorize Benson and the same and the same level like Michkov. It's too warm.
Would you pass on?
It's too warm.
Pass on Bedard because
it's like 5'10"? You tell me right now Benson is like Bedard.
That's not what I'm saying at all, though.
No, but you said go get Benson, but you cannot get Benson if he's not at the same page like Fantilli with Bedard and Michkov. They are three special players. If you have the guy to pick a special player and you say, no, we don't get the player, we just go with a lower, I don't get it. I will not understand when we say we pick always the best players. The best player right now, if Michkov is open, it's Michkov. This is the best player. You have nobody better to Michkov. Nobody is better. It's maybe better to Bedard. You have 16 scouts in NHL. You have 16 GM interviewing by Scott Wheeler. 15 of them put Michkov at the same level almost like Bedard. And us, number 5, will say, oh, you know what? We don't take Michkov. We don't like super elite player. We have enough right now with Zuski and Caulfield and Kirby Doc. We have a good to go. I think for me, Montreal is going to make a big mistake. They don't select the top super elite players we have in that draft versus maybe another player. For me, that's what I believe.
According to your theory, though, even if Michkov is the elite player that we think is, and listen, I don't disagree with you. I think I've been on the record saying that. But according to your theory, it's impossible for Montreal to win the Stanley Cup because we have more than 2 players in our top 10 that are under 6 feet, right? So even if it's that the reason I'm not comparing Benson and Michkov, I'm just saying that if we're willing to take Michkov, okay, I know he's more talented than Benson, but according to your theory, it doesn't matter how talented or determined and how much of a competitor the player is. It's an impossibility for a team to win without players that are over 6 feet.
No, but
I don't believe that.
But Marco,
it doesn't make it.
I think it's more about the ranking, right? At this point, I don't disagree. I really like Zach Benson as well, and it's not because of sight or lack of. It's more the fact that you're picking 1 to 5, and at this stage, I don't see Benson as a top 5. He could probably be your 6th, but I wouldn't put him at 5. That's the only thing. Like the 2 elite players in the top 5 are both 5'10". The other 3, including Smith, are all 6 feet or higher or taller. So I think that's the direction you have to go. I know it's usually the defense that needs to be the bigger corpse that in the playoffs, and that's usually where you win the battles, so much as the forwards are concerned. But I mean, we just have a little bit too many players that are small. Like you also have to address that aspect of it.
But here, let me say this, right? Okay, so the reason that I'm pushing so hard on this is because I don't think Montreal is going to take Michkov. I think I've already said it. If Michkov is available at number 5, I think they should take him. So I'll agree with you there.
I agree.
But I don't think that can happen. Yeah. Okay, so I don't think they're going to take them. So really, if Michkov is there, that means that really the only players that are going to be available probably will be Smith or the next tier, right? So really what you're comparing at this point is Smith Benson or Leonard or Reinbacher, like exactly what coach has on the list here, right? Because if you're not going to take Michkov, then probably the player that will be still there, Smith will probably even already be gone. So really, if you're not taking Michkov, then you're left with the players that are on this list. For me, the players that are on coach's list right here, for me, no question, it would be Benson that I would take over Leonard or Reinbacher.
I go with Leonard.
Wow.
As well.
You'd go with Leonard as well, eh?
I took Leonard versus Reinbacher. I think it's the bank. It's like the Reinbacher for me is like, okay, you guarantee to get a defenseman second pairing with Reinbacher. That's a guarantee. That's a good thing. I think Benson Leonard can carry you to be a top 6 and to become possible a top 3 in NHL at some point. For me, Leonard bring more I would say physicality and more the guts, and he could become a Tkachuk in NHL. And let's say he would be like Tkachuk, but they are rare to find. The Cutter Gauthier from last year, example for the Flyers. That's the solid player Montreal don't have right now enough in the top 6. I like the size of Sarkowski, but I don't think so. Sarkowski has some kind of, in French we say, yeah, il n'y a pas de chien inside of you. Il n'y a pas de chien. Il n'y a pas de chien inside of him, right? And Sarkowski, he need that, right? So we need a player like that. And, a Sam Bennett, example, like Leonard looked like a Sam Bennett. I'm not sure Benson, what he could become in the NHL, what kind of player, because he's, a guy, he can score. He can score. He compete. He have a lot of things. He proved for the Winnipeg Ice this year. He become maybe the best player. He passed Savoie and the Kiki for them. But again, I'm not sure how he can do that way. For me, my pick, if it's not Michkov, I will go with Rand Leonard. If, of course, it's Smith Fantilli Carlson is out on the board. But Michkov, for me, if Montreal don't go with Michkov, the only 3 players I believe they're going to go. They love Rand Leonard, but that would be the reason behind that. Again, they did pick Benson. I'm not going to be disappointed, but I would like to know why they not want to get Michkov or Leonard over Benson. From what I read, again, at the end of the day. Great conversation. The chat is fired up right now. I never see a chat on fire right now. It just go like that over there. But again, I don't know what you're thinking. Again, maybe finalize the one more step. If you have a pick right now, 1 week before, because we can change again next Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We can change our mind because this is all about the NHL draft at the end. You can change. I changed my mind until the night before last year, and we'll see what's happening. But that could happen.
I don't know. I think people are absolutely sleeping on Benson in the sense that not just his offensive, not just on his offensive game, right? But I would put him right on par with Leonard in terms of his doggedness of puck pursuit. I've watched a lot of the games, I watched some Winnipeg games this season on. I have the OHL package and the WHL package, and to me, he's like a mix between Brendan Gallagher and Seth Jarvis. Is kind of the way that I would compare him, right? Very feisty, very good at takeaways, is very aggressive on the forecheck and pressuring the puck. Is kind of not at the same level as Mark Stone because he's doesn't have the same reach as Mark Stone, but he has those capabilities, and his drive is right up there. And I agree, Leonard is also that kind of player. He has a good motor, absolutely, tenacious guy. But I just think that his offensive ceiling
and an extra inch.
Yeah, he's an extra inch. Whatever that means. We know that can be very important in other situations other than hockey as well. But in terms of overall offensive upside, I think Benson's ceiling is higher than Leonard in terms of his offensive potential, right? We're talking about the top 5 here, guys. Like you said, we want to get an elite talent. I would be very surprised that most people don't acknowledge that Benson has a higher offensive upside than Leonard does. People, for whatever reason, they keep as soon as whoever said the word Kachuk next to the name Leonard, everybody in their mind thinks that he's like this 6, like even coach compared him to Cutter Gauthier. Well, Cutter Gauthier is like 6'2" or 6'3". He's not that. He's 5'11". He weighs like maybe 170 something pounds. Again, I'm not shitting over Leonard. I think he's a great player, and I think will be a great pick either way. But I'll go on the record saying that I think Benson has the higher offensive upside, and you're not losing anything in terms of competitiveness and in terms of character on your team. I think he's right there with Leonard.
If you look at their stats, they're almost identical, Marco.
Yeah, but
what they produce now. The only thing you can nitpick is look at which league they both played in. Right, one played in the WHL, and the other one played for the U.S. Development. So, I mean, if you have definitive,
Harlem Globetrotters, basically, right? Like, it's like playing for the U.S. like U18 team is like playing with like an all-star team against other college teams.
Do you know, Marco, where is born Gauthier?
Where was he born?
Yeah.
He's Canadian, I know that much, but where's he born? Hawkesbury?
No,
I don't know.
He played for Team USA, but he was born in Sweden.
Yeah. He's born in Sweden.
Oh, was he?
He's born in Sweden. Plays the bird is Sweden, but nation is USA.
Nice.
Huh.
So we always learn something new, right? And I will verify some. He played for Boston College. Guys, next year the Boston College would be a tough team to beat, and then it will be the new Michigan, what will win an NCAA for next season. Let's check, guys, the fire up. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. Jerry, no Benson, no Leonard. Choose Oliver Moore, one of the best puck transporter in the transition, and the entire North American draft class is speed. I don't think Sumo will be the top 9. One player Steve G mentioned here in the chat. What about Dvorak? Do you see Dvorak around the Montreal Canadiens? One of the youngest player, on the draft. I think he's born in June, if I can recall it, for Dvorak. Big guy, center, skate pretty good. He have a really good second half of the season. That's the reason now he's become a really great IQ, top 10 on the draft. Any chance Montreal could looking about Dvorak? It was a bit too early, in my opinion, to get a Dvorak.
I would not be happy if they
see
did.
It. Yeah. I would have need not at number 5. I just don't. I don't think it relates to that. I mean, again, he's a good player, but he's not at the same status as the ones we've mentioned already.
Joe Manella asked about Quinton Musty because Joe Musty will be like between 15 to 23rd. In my opinion, I don't see him to slide at the bottom before 15. There are too many good players, Barlow, and we don't talk about Matthew Wood. We don't talk about Sandin Pelika. We can talk about Tom Willander. That's another one over there. We can go all the way that list over there. So Gabe Perreault, nobody talk about Gabe Perreault. It could be another one can select. And nobody talk about Danielson at top 15. And again, I know Luc, many others said, no, coach, no big deal. Imagine if Montreal Canadiens, when the Fleur Panther does not make the playoff, Montreal select another pick as 15 or 16 this year compared to 31. It was a huge, big impact for the future for Montreal Canadiens, because now you add maybe a top 6 again or a top 9 differently as a forward or a top 4 defenseman if you select at 15, 16, 17. We just talk about it's fun player right now. And I think that would be, honestly, this is a really sad. The last question for the top 5 here, guys. Mitch Cobb, what do you see him to get draft and that upcoming NHL draft next week in our top?
I think he goes before 5. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if he lands with either Anaheim or San Jose, but I think one of those 2 teams will probably go after him.
They would be insane if they didn't, right? Like, I don't understand, like, especially San Jose. Like, to me, San Jose makes complete sense, right? Because they may not want to admit this to themselves, but they are a really long way from ever competing for the playoffs. Like, they just made it clear that Carlson's going to be on the market. They traded Meyer, at the trade deadline. What do they have? Like, they have Eklund, I guess, is really kind of the cute little center that they have, the little Swedish kid, good little player, but they've got nothing, guys. Like, they are bone dry in terms of a prospect pool, right? So they're a long way away. So to me, this is exactly the kind of team that can afford to be patient and wait for Michkov. So to me, it's a match made in heaven, those 2 teams. But it seems like, as an organization, San Jose has always been in major denial and always tries to find a way to got to make the playoffs. I don't know if it's the ownership or the pressure of the marketplace, because it's a very, San Jose, it's a lot of rich people there, and it's a very glitzy kind of place, with Silicon Valley. So I don't know if they feel like they just always have to have a good product on the ice to stay relevant in their market.
Go ahead. Thanks so much, Randy, for a new subscriber, the Hockey Nation Show. Appreciate that. Pick up all the stuff in the feed. We want to welcome everybody. Thanks. If you're not subscribed, please don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel. We have a new channel. It's called the App Nation Live. You can look about this too. And then finally, we will ask you, if you don't mind, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. We appreciate a lot. We have a show every Monday night and Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So all summer, you can join us live. We do this Sunday and Tuesday. It's about the NHL news around the league. So we have at least 4 times per week during the off summer talking about hockey. So that's a good place. A lot of people talk about 4 or 5. Look, at the end of the day, I think Mitch Cobb is going to be out, worst case, at the 8th by the Washington Capitals if everybody skip him for Mitch Cobb. But Mitch Cobb's coming next week, right? And from what we heard from an article out of Russia yesterday, he's really want to play with the Washington Capitals. So he really believes the Washington Capitals is the way Mitch Cobb is going to be drafted next week. We talked about Pat Verbeek a little bit earlier. Marco talked about the fact like Pat Verbeek has some kind of relationship with Steve Eiserman, everything like that, and he maybe play a card where it would go with Mitch Cobb, and they have the time to do it. Anaheim are on the hold right now to wait a little bit, 2 more years, 3 more years. Imagine a Mitch Cobb with McDavid and Zegras right away there with Terry. I can go all the way like this with all the defensemen they have and with the goaltender Dodal they have. This is going to be really interesting. Now, they can get Fantilli too at the same time for sure. San Jose Sharks, you never know. It's really hard to read GM with nothing. We don't know too much about San Jose Sharks and the team they have. They can get Mitch Cobb. They're looking really for Wild Smith for what we heard. Montreal look like they're not going to select Mitch Cobb. Arizona with Mitch Cobb, I think it will be a really bad idea because we don't know Arizona's what's going to happen over there. The Flyers, if Rand Leonard is on the board, I think Brielle can go with Leonard. I don't think so. They go with Mitch Cobb. So at the end of the day, I think Mitch Cobb is going to be with the Washington Capitals if everyone skip him, obviously. And the next 5 years, going to realize who he was right about Mitch Cobb. Compared for all the picks, he was proud of that. It's a good thing about the draft. It's fun to reevaluate this 3-4 years later. Who make a mistake, who did very well on the draft. That's the only thing. I remember, guys, Chicago this year have a lot of pick, and the Detroit Red Wings have 5 pick and the first 43 picks in NHL. So a lot of things, guys, can make some kind of trade at some point. Every year we see going to have a lot of pick, a lot of trade. I don't expect more
It's going to
lot,
be active.
but
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't see
expect it.
too many
Expect
trade
it.
what happening at the trade deadline at the NHL draft next week.
Expect it, coach. Mark my words.
Yeah,
We hope so. We hope so.
If you think about this last year, how many have? Not many. You have the trade for DeBrincat, and you have the trade for Kirby Doc.
Yeah, but here
the
issue is different than last year. Last year, it was really, were they going to go with Slafkovsky or were they going to go with Wright? Turns out Wright fell all the way down to 4, but that's because of the teams that were involved there. Anything after that, there wasn't. I mean, they're good players. I don't want to put them down or anything, but it's nothing to the level that there's about 20 to 25 players that are all packed up in the same level of skill in this year's draft. So that's why you're going to see, and all you have to do is, and I mentioned this in the past, all you have to do is look at the different organizations that are ranking these players. As soon as you get outside the first 5, they're all over the map. It's not I have them at 5th, and I had somebody else has this person at 7, which would be understandable. It's like one person has them at 5. Then Button comes along and has them at 16. McKenzie comes along and has them at 9. Somebody else has them at 32. Like there's that kind of fluctuation because they're very talented. But they're very raw, a lot of these players. And that's what's causing the confusion because you don't. How do you translate that to the NHL? You don't know until they've actually been in action and you see how they play.
To me, ENORTAP, that's the reason why I think Bob McKenzie's list is always the definitive list, because the way that he does his list is by actually surveying scouts, right? So it's the most scientific list. It's not Craig Button's list is just, it's really his opinion, right? Like,
well, I just brought up him, but there's others, right? There's,
most of them are like
athletic.
That. Yeah, most of them are scouts, or analysts that are basically scouting players. And again, we're not professional scouts, right? Like I'm not claiming to be a professional scout, but to me, that's why. And I think Grant McCagg's list is kind of similar, where he does. I don't think he has the same network as Bob McKenzie does. Like Bob McKenzie obviously is the most connected hockey journalist. Even though he's retired, he's still the most connected guy, right? So to me, that's why it's the definitive list. It's the one, like, do you guys remember one of the drafts where he literally predicted each pick before they happened successfully? Like the whole first round, he predicted like 10 seconds before it happened. So he has a very good pulse. So, if I had to choose one list to follow, it's Bob McKenzie's list, because it's a aggregate and it's a survey of all the scouts.
It's definitely been one of the most consistent, without a doubt. I agree with you there. But I'm just saying that there's more fluctuation in the rankings this year than I've ever seen in any draft in the last, I'd say, 15 years.
I don't know. So, and, you were saying that there's like a pack of 20 or 25 players that are all together. I don't view it that way. Like, I think there's a couple more tiers, so Bedard is in his own tier, right? Then you've got Fantilli, Carlson, that are probably in their own tier, the second tier. Then there's that tier of I would put Smith, Benson, and sorry, I would put Michkov in that tier with with those guys too. Like, that's obvious. But then once you get past maybe to Leonard, then there's like a kind of a middle tier of about 10 players. And then there's another tier after that, right? So I wouldn't say that everything from pick 6 to 25 is on the same level. There's probably 2 or 3 levels just within that first round in terms of ceiling.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm saying whatever tier you want to call it, A, B, C, or D, or E, I mean, there's that group that say from about 8 to about 25. There isn't a lot that distinguishes them. There isn't.
Coach, what do you think? Like, I'd say between 8 and 12, maybe that's a tier, but I wouldn't say that teams looking at somebody that's ranked number 8, the same as somebody that's like at number 20?
No. I listened both of you. I was trying to figure out in my head, okay, how I can do this. Like, let's go that way. Let put Bedard out of the equation, right? So after that, you have about 4 players after that on one tier. And then you have another tier from 6 to 12, I would say to you. When I said 12, be careful, because you could have someone like, I would say 6 to 10, right? So you can go all the way to Dvorak, or you can go with possible Leonard Benson and Rebacker example. After that, you're going to go from 11, I would say to you, about 20, 22. And 11 to 15 is pretty even, but I would say to 11, 22 will be another tier. Then after that, guys, you can go from 23rd to 40. And it can go all the way. You can get a guy like Rabal, the goaltender, at 37, 38, 36. But he can be out at 29 and maybe 26 at some point. And that's what you get there after that. And then you can go after that, another tier guy for 41 to 60. It's another kind of player you can get. I'm talking about Lardis or the Ultunen, the Finland players, Sianak, Schrabak, and I can go all the way like this. They have a lot. Goaltender like Augustin Gajan, or could be about between 45 to 60 over there too. So it's a really deep draft this year, where you can have a lot a player can play in the NHL compared to any other example other draft the last 10 years. I will say to you about this. So it's really interesting when you get there. You have some kind of slippery. You won't have 1-2 player who is not expected maybe at the top 15.
Absolutely.
But it's really really particular year for the NHL draft, and that make interesting is the situation with Michkov, right? Michkov is become something unique case because the situation over there. Yeah, better than maybe one of the best player in the NHL for the next 20 years after the next couple of years, and then after that you have those kind of 3 players, the Smith with Fantilli and Carlson are really great hockey player, and then after that you have the Benson, Leonard, Dvorak, and then Rebacker, and that's really interesting happening. So it's really a fun NHL draft. That's the reason you have a lot of action. People talk about the pick because you can go to one way to another way. And see, earlier we talked about the draft. Sometimes they make a draft with the roster construction at the same time, and that would be something maybe sometime you consider about that. But about trade, I would say to you in our tap, they have the St. Louis Blues have 3 picks, first round pick. Detroit have 2 of them. The Flyers have 2 of them, and the St. Louis and the Arizona have 2 of them. So they have something. They have really interesting. Chicago can make another trade. They try to make another first round pick at some point, and we'll see. But a lot of things could happen next week for sure about that. Pick number 31 guy for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm sorry, Marco. You want to add something?
Ooh.
I was just going to say, doesn't Nashville have 2 first-round picks?
I know they have the 15th.
Which one?
Nashville.
Yeah, they have. They have the 24th as well. 15th and 24th.
Yeah, they got the Nashville for the Edmonton Oilers, if I can recall it.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah. I was just talking about different team. Montreal just need to lose a couple of more games, and I don't know. About that, some people is just thanks everybody. Coach, what is the more realistic if we were to move up a 4th, 3rd, and 2nd? And would make a sense if we can ready to pay. San Jose is hard to read. Columbus want a center. But the move up, guys, in NHL in the last 20 years, if you look at that, you have to go all the way to Henrik Sandin and Daniel Sandin guy to move up after like 3rd, 2nd, or 4th. Before that, the 2007, the Toronto Maple Leafs make a trade for the New York Islanders to move up to 7 to move to 5. On that one, they only pay a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick. Not much about that. If you move from, I think, 13 to 9, St. Louis Blues was involved. I cannot remember the team. They pay a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick in return. So when you move up to 1 or 2, 3 spot, you don't pay too much what you think the people were thinking. So San Jose, if you move to get to San Jose spot, You can give them the second round pick or a third round pick in return. That's it. That's all. There's not much to give. To the Anaheim, for them to Montreal to second to the fifth to second, you're going to expect to give them the number 5, the number 37, and maybe the number 69 at some point to get the number second. That's what happening in NHL for the last 20 years. I try to go around. Yes, you have a trade maybe, like you get Jeff Carter, and now you get the pick number 5, and then it go like this. But I was just looking for move up or move down, exchange with only picks, and that's pretty much happening. So I don't know if you want to add something in our time about that, or Marco.
No, I know. Even in one of your videos, you had the rankings and the number of points assigned to those rankings. The problem with that, it's very calculated, right? It's based on drafts being at the same level in terms of the players that are being drafted on a yearly basis. And this is not the case this year. I don't think it will take King's ransom to switch from 5 to 2. I mean, we have prospects, we have picks, right? A lot of these guys are not going to be re-signed or signed in Montreal. There's just not enough room. So if for whatever reason Anaheim knows that they want a particular player and it's not going to be picked until they fall to 5th, then why would they not do it? They would acquire some assets and Montreal would be happy with their situation. I think it's very plausible.
Well, listen, like we said, Hughes set the bar really high. I think if he's able to pull that off, we haven't talked a lot about Adam Fantilli, right? So would we all agree that if they do move into the second spot, it's not to draft Michkov, right? So
right.
To me, that would mean that they're very much targeting Fantilli. I like Fantilli, but if you told me that it really would depend what we're giving up to move up to number 2 to draft Fantilli. I like Fantilli, but I'm not like similarly to I was saying how I'm not exactly sure that Dubois is the center. I have the same concerns with Fantilli. You know, I see him as more of a straight ahead player, more than a player that creates space and is creative for his teammates, which for me is the biggest criteria for a center, other than being able to play a good two-way game, play above the puck, all those things, obviously, that we want a good two-way center to be. To me, it's like Galchenyuk is the perfect example, right? People, you look at him and he looks like he should be able to play center because he's tall, he's fast, but it's about hockey IQ. It's about being able to see the ice and create space. Fantilli is going to be an amazing player. He reminds me of an even better Pacioretty kind of guy, like a straight ahead shooter guy, maybe a little bit like more hockey IQ than Pacioretty, but I don't see him as a center. I could be wrong. So, but again, so if they do that, if they move to second spot to draft Fantilli, I'm okay with it as long as they're not going to go bananas in what they're trading here. Like they better not trade Gooley or like one of
it's too much.
Coach. What was your suggestion in the video? Because I don't recall it right now, but I remember when you brought it up today. I said if that's the offer, do it. I think you said.
I think it was the first one pick. The number 5, 37, Joshua Roy.
No, it wasn't. You gave 3 other scenarios, and I thought this would be a steal if they could do that. Do it right now.
But again, if you want to give from 5 to the second, guys, the cost would be a first round pick, a second round pick, and possibly a prospect and a guy like a Roy, a Kidney. A kind of play like this, you can. Someone, Abu Pazu said, Mayu, the 5th round pick and the 3rd round pick in return. I think you don't have to give that kind of prospect, because you don't have a lot of difference between Fantilli and Michkov. At the end of the day, you have not a big difference between Fantilli and Carlson and Fantilli and Smith. So he gave back just something in return. I think the second round pick 37 or the 31st if you want to get there, and that's it. That's all. Or the 37 plus a prospect like I just mentioned to you. That'll be enough for the Anaheim Ducks. It's not a big about this.
I can't believe how high you guys are on Will Smith. It's crazy. Like, so you're putting Will Smith in the same category as Carlson and Fantilli?
Oh yeah.
I don't. Wow.
No.
I don't know.
No, I'm not putting him at that level. No, but I definitely think he's a solid number 5.
Yeah, he's a top 5. And so is there's a conversation about that. Is a top 5. So you have to put them in the same conversation. Not necessarily going to be better to Carlson or about this. I think a lot of people does not consider about because he's a smaller player versus Fantilli and Carlson. And I think Fantilli a little bit more compete. But if you talk about the hockey space, you talk about Logan Coley, Zegras with Smith at some point on the level of it is they are maybe more flashy. But Smith is really delivery, is really a smart hockey player, Smith, about that. But let's move on, guys, for the pick number 31st. We want to go trade, right? We hit the 26, so we want to stay in the chat about that. At pick number 31st for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, this could be left and right. We don't know who's going to be the board, right? But we just mentioned name and maybe your feeling. And what I did, guys, I put some center, winger, defenseman, and a goalie. So you get everything at 31st. What do you think Kenny is going to do? Do you think he's going to get like a Nadeau, Bradley Nadeau playing the BCHL? I think he's going to be with Boston or Maine University next year. I think it's more Maine University. Wildbird, this is a great center, 6'3" guy. Nobody talked about him until 2 months ago. And for my opinion, maybe it's better as Stenberg. He picked up a lot of great market value in the last 2 months. A bit earlier at 31st, honestly, more at the 37, but still. And then Gauthier. Looked like Montreal looking for him. Gauthier said, I spoke a lot with Montreal Canadiens. They like the way he play. Talk about Leonard a little bit earlier, the way he play. That's Gauthier does. He's really a great work ethic, a blue-collar player, so I can go the way. Tracey Zajic, the reason I put him there is a right defenseman and possibly between 30 to 38, and then the goaltender. More either 35, 36, but I'm scared. Not scared. Honestly, nobody scared me about Rubble. But maybe a team could pick up him earlier in the draft. So I don't know what you think about that. I will start with this time. Let's go with ENORTAP and then follow by MARKO on that one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we didn't discuss this amongst ourselves before. But when I had my pick at 31, it was Ethan Gauthier. I think that if he's available there, it's a great pick for them. He's got decent size. He's just under, I think, 6 feet. He's 5'11" or something. But it's not about that. It's mostly the fight that he has in his game, the fact that he's got very good hands. His stats are very good. He's he's got pedigree as well. He played well at the U18 Hlinka Gretzky tournament in the summer for Canada. This guy brings it all, and I think that he will be a great pick at 31. I just don't think he'll be available at 31.
But ENORTAP. What about this?
Yeah, 1 inch.
He's only 5'11".
1 inch.
It will be impossible. It'll be impossible for us to win a Stanley Cup.
But if I can quote MARKO, like there's small and then there's big. He's a big small.
Yeah. There's short and then there's small. Yeah. So, well, guys, I don't think Gauthier is going to be there. To be honest, like again, I put a lot of stock into. I put a lot of stock.
MARKO, can I make a statement here just to be sure people understand why we don't have other name over there? Because we expect them to be already picked before that. So someone asking me why not Engstrom or I don't know, I can mention another name or there. So that's the reason. So we can go with many other names and they not put them before they are better to other players. It's just because we expect them to be at the board at that time on 12 select, and that's the reason. So I just want to share it because the 2-3 people. So why not? Why you take him before until and that other players?
Why isn't Jaeger on this list? No, I understand. This is who you thought would be available here. I don't think Gauthier will be. Again, I put a lot of stock in Mackenzie's list, and he has him right now, I believe, at 16. So, yeah, that's where Bob McKenzie has him.
Bobby is good for the first one, but after that, he struggled.
But Marco, that's you have to be careful with that because McKenzie hasn't come up with his final list yet. Like the one you have, I think might be the midterm one that he had, the midseason ranking, because that's where he had him at 16th. But I think
I don't think he's going to be 31st. So is what I think will be there. Or would be my strategy if I'm Kent Hughes. To me, it would be either between Rabel or probably Oliver Bonk. Now, I think that there's a higher probability that somebody would take Rabel in between our 31st pick and then our second round pick. So I would probably go with Rabel just to make sure that I lock down the goalie right away. And then with my second round pick, I would cross my fingers that Oliver Bonk would be there.
At 31 for Bonk?
I think
31 would be Rabel. 31 would be Rabel because I don't think he'll make it to our second round pick. And then I take Bonk with our second round.
Yeah.
I think he goes earlier, Marco.
Bonk or Rabel?
Yeah, Bonk. I think he's going to be somewhere in the mid to late 20s.
I don't know. It's
6'2",
not a
right-handed defenseman. Like that, it's hard to come by.
I agree. So I don't know. It would be tough for me to pass him at 31. So how many picks are between? So we pick 31 and then what? 36?
37 we have.
37. I would be nervous, but I think I would probably go with Rabel.
The only problem I said to you, Marco, about this, San Jose 36, and they need goalies. So if he's still there, I think they will steal the goalie to Montreal Canadiens at 37. That's what I believe.
Well,
again.
That's what I just said. So I wouldn't risk that. I would choose Rabel with my 31st to lock him down, and then I would cross my fingers that Bonk is still there at 37. That would be my hope. If you can't get Bonk, then I'm targeting whichever right-handed defenseman is next on my list there. At this point, you can start to draft a little bit more for position. I think when you're in the early second round, if there's not much of a huge gap in your evaluation of the players, you would never. I'd never want to draft for a position in the first round, but in the second round, if it's close, then you go for need and you go with the right-handed defenseman.
And Rabin, maybe use 31st person to move up.
Maybe.
Here's the point about that. I just wanted to maybe to give you an example and maybe you understand and Rabinov. So you take 37 guy with 31. The best you can get with both, all right, is maybe 25th in return. I'll be shocked you can get a team at 20, 21, 23rd to get that. At least you have a team is maybe on the another, like they're already good team and they just need to add more prospect and they don't have not many prospect. And their example like Colorado at 27 example. So they need more prospect and maybe shifting 31st. I think Montreal Canadiens with the quality player they have in the NHL draft right now, there's not going to be benefit to move up to maybe 5 spots to get one player when they can get 2 prospects for only 1. Does it make sense in our top when Marco, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I think that would be something you have to look about that. So Unfortunately, I did not set, I set up the 37, but I delete the 37. So let's go into 69 if you don't mind, everybody. And the 69 guys, this is the third round pick they have on their selection. At that moment, that's shifting a lot. I rate one way, I rate to another way. It's rich friend. At that 69 guys, not many goaltender anymore. I think possible Cajan be out. Possible Augustin will be out, I believe. And that would give Montreal Canadiens maybe to go with the goaltender for the Thunderbird, Raglev or Raglav, as Razlav, if I can recall it. He's only 6 foot, by the way, but it's the kind of players you can get. Yeah, Fowler over there could be a goaltender. Some put him at 60, at 70, 74, so I put him. Cajan could maybe be there, but I don't think so. Augustin will be out. It will be already out. They are really the top 6 goaltender in NHL draft, the best one. Then after that, you have Kala, and then you have Lundgren and the big John 6'6". Another name I can't forget. His name is a Russian or Slovakia name. And they are the best 3 goaltender after that. By 69 guys, do you think they should get a goaltender or not? And if it's the case, which one it would be? And then Mijatovic, guys, is a great play with the Thunderbird. Seattle, a really good forward. Lynn is a great pickup over there too. I love the way he plays. He's very aggressive. He could become another, maybe King talk about a player maybe could surprise everybody, and it could be Len at 69. And finally, Lardis. This is a hope, but I think Lardis will be out. Maybe it could be at 37 if Montreal really like Lardis, but maybe it can slip all the way to 69. Anyhow, I don't talk anymore. I'll let you talk. Marco, first one.
Coach, like, I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, you're like it's like if you like a band, you know, like I know you don't listen to music, but you know, you kind of just know a little bit of their music, and then somebody asks you if you know the number 9 song on the album, and you're like, no, I just know the first 2 or 3 songs. That's what I'm like with the draft. You know, like asking me about who's going to go 69th, like it's a little deep for me. Like I'm not a scout, right? Like I definitely follow the players in the first 2 rounds closely,
of course.
But in terms of what I think they should do, like, you know, to be honest, I know very little about any of these players. You know, but I think, again, like all I would say, if I'm Kent Hughes, I don't love the mistake that Bergevin did before. Remember when everybody was crying to have a left-handed D partner for Weber, right? So there was like 1 or 2 drafts where all we did was draft left-handed D, right? And I guess that's the instinct that you have, because that's what you need. And again, we made that mistake with McCarron and, you know, Galchenyuk and all those things, right? So I would just, again, you go with the best player that you can, you know, like based on kind of what you think you're going to project. If it's close, then, you know, it sounds as though that's kind of the philosophy they have, is they're going to draft for need if the players are very equal or the margin is very, very minimal. So, you know, I know that they need right-handed goalies or right-handed defensemen and goalies. I just don't want them to go completely one way, and then our prospect pool is overwhelmed with just one type of player. Like right now, we have too many left-handed D, right? So I just wouldn't want us to repeat that mistake. That would be really my only kind of wish in terms of what their draft strategy is going to be.
ENORTAP, maybe not the name of the player, but more about the position. It was maybe more about my focus, more about the position at 69.
I think the majority of the names that are there might be gone at 69. The only one I think that might be still around is Mijatovic. And I think, I mean, he's a big boy.
You think Fowler will be out already?
I think so. Lind will be, Lardis will be, Cajan definitely will be. The name I had in this position is, and I went a little bit off the board here, is Colson Peter. This guy played this year. I mean, he's about 6 feet, 185 pounds. He's a very solid player, brings it every single game. He doesn't take nights off. He's a good skater. The only problem that I read up on him a little bit was the fact that sometimes his defensive play is in question a little bit. But I liked from what I could see him at that position. But I agree. Well, like once you get this low in the draft, it's hard to gauge, exactly what will translate at an NHL level with these guys. Some will develop and become better than where they'll get selected, and some will never make it to the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it would be good to get a goaltender at that position. If they don't select earlier before that, for sure. That would be the one I was looking for at 69 for the Montreal Canadiens. They have many of them. It's just hard to pick it up, everything at that, to know every one of them. I pretty much, I can tell you many of them, but all the way at 69, you don't know who's going to be at the board. So I was more focusing on the position. I think Montreal should get at least a goalie at 69. I think Fuller will be there for the Montreal, or that'll be the one I was hope they can get Fuller at 69 for the upcoming draft. We did it around the door about all the draft for the Montreal Canadiens. We still have 7 days, guys, before the NHL draft next week. We still have a lot of conversation to talk about for the next couple of days. And they have already, always someone pop up left and right to talk about, oh, I heard this about Mishkov, or I heard this about Leonard. And we don't maybe, now Dubois have a date tonight with David Sava after he date Cole Caulfield's only weekend. So now we'll see what happens. His next date for the Montreal Canadiens. Next week, maybe have another date. We don't know about that, but will be interesting. Jacob Dvorak, you're absolutely right, Randy. I think he could be at that moment at 69 for sure. But again, Lardis is another small guys. Look, Lardis, I think, is a 5'11", but he's born July 8th and 2005. So he's almost like 1 year behind everybody for Lardis. But the guy is really an amazing, great hockey player, skating very well. It'll be one is stock market with Wahlberg grow in the last 2 months in the NHL draft prospect. I wouldn't be surprised he's out early in the second round for any other team. He got traded for the Hamilton from the Peterborough at the Christmas time to go to Hamilton. I think you have 56 points and 39 game or 36 game at the end of the season. So it's everyone really grow about that. So like you said, MARKO and ENORTAP, we have a lot of conversation to talk again for the next couple of days for the NHL draft. I just want to remind you guys, everybody, if you don't follow us for the first time, we maybe did not know yet, we try to build another channel called the AB Nation live channel. You can sign up there just looking. We try to figure out this, it would be appropriate or not. We don't take any decision yet. We try to invite the most people there, and we'll definitely make some kind of video the next couple of days. Finally, I want to shift in though to invite everybody. Don't forget, every Monday night and Wednesday night, we have a special Montreal Canadiens show. We only talk about Montreal Canadiens, but we go talk about the draft after that. But you have still at the UFA to talk about. And then after that, the development camp happening 10 days, 15 days after the draft, by the way. So we're going to be, and again, another big moment there. And then after that, it will be a little slower. We're going to talk about FRENCHY with the Montreal Canadiens for sure. Don't go nowhere. It'll be great. At the Sunday night and the Tuesday night, we talk about the NHL, and sometime the Thursday night. So that's what, anything you want to add more about the NHL draft, what could happen the next couple of days for the Montreal Canadiens and MARKO or ENORTAP?
Go ahead, ENORTAP.
I don't anticipate too much prior to, simply because like a lot of the current NHL players, that their no trade clauses either kick in or they become free agents doesn't happen until July 1st, right? So there's still room to maneuver and make changes even after draft. I think that the draft will sort of help dictate what happens with these players and what direction the teams will take in regards to that.
Well, hey, we usually agree on most things that aren't happening. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I get a sense that there's going to be some activity before the draft. The NHL has kind of a bad habit of kind of screwing up the dramatic nature of how they present things. I think they should actually ban trades for the first 2-3 days before the draft so that everything kind of happens at the draft. But as what's the name, that Dana White from the UFC was pretty critical about Gary Bettman and how they manage the entertainment product in the NHL. I think major things are going to happen like the night before or a couple of days before. You always have teams that want to get ahead of things, right? Like you have certain GMs that they just want to get ahead of things. Like Jim Rutherford is a really one that does that. Used to do that a lot when he was with Pittsburgh. So I wouldn't be surprised, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pierre-Luc Dubois thing gets settled in the next week before the draft. And I suspect it will probably be LA. It sounds like they're pretty serious about doing it. They have the assets to do it. Pierre-Luc Dubois is a guy that loves fashion. Like I know that he wants to play in Montreal, but you can't discount that. Look at Matt Duchene, right? Like he loved country music so much that he wanted to go to Nashville. So you can't discount those little hobby or quirk interests that the players have. I think it would be hard for Pierre-Luc Dubois to. He's got Philippe Danault there. He's got like the francophone delegation already in place in Los Angeles. That team is right on the cusp, I think, of being very competitive. I think it would be a good fit for him. And I think that they have the assets to do it. So I predict that that's what's going to happen before the draft.
All right, we have a couple of questions for you guys before we shut down here. By the way, the Firebird take the lead 1-0 over Hershey after the first period. What do you think about Vincent Rover, about this draft pick by the Montreal Canadiens? I think it was 4th-round pick last year, 65.
I think it was third round. It was third round pick, yeah.
65, I think, was 72. Anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's a good player. By the way, we didn't talk about the AHL playoffs, but remember last week you were talking about comparing the development of Slafkovsky and Shane Wright?
Yeah.
Does anybody feel that Shane Wright is playing meaningful AHL games right now?
No. He has 2 points in 7 games here.
Yeah, but he's not playing.
The thing is, I'm starting to see. So far, I'm starting to see with Wright that when the game counts the most, that's when he disappears the most.
Did he was healthy scratch?
No, he's played all the games so far.
Yeah, he's playing like bottom 9 minutes, right? Like, but to me, like purely like because coach had the interesting question about who had the best year for their own development. Was it Slafkovsky or was it Shane Wright? And I think I didn't know that he was playing in the AHL playoffs when he asked me that question earlier.
Yeah.
So now that I know that, I'm quite jealous. I wish Slafkovsky would have played more meaningful hockey. But anyways, sorry, what was the original question? Aurora.
Before we go to that, I was going to ask you guys, Coach, you have flashed 11 picks there that Montreal has. How many of those do you think we'll actually end up with at the end of the draft?
Montreal on that one. Worst case 9, best or 10.
I hope they package some of them and try to move up, man. Like if there's any year that it's the year to do that, we just have so many picks, and we've had so many picks over the last couple of years. Like trade your 69th and 101st and 110th and try to get 42 or something like that. Like just
but what is going to happen there? If you look about this, Marco, the only pick I will see they can trade a 69, and they can trade a 101 to 128 to get maybe 60 or maybe 58 or 55 worst case. That would be the only thing I would say, because if you think they are too much, they don't have. You have about 7 pick from 4th round to 4-7, and it's not too much irrelevant to get those kind of pick for any other team. So that's my only thing. That's my only concern. And if you trade 37 or whatever it is, and to give them a 101 or 110, it's not much.
Yeah, but you have some
I think
teams
they end
that
up with
if
8
you
or
look at
9.
Tampa, right? Like you look at Tampa and San Jose, like teams that just really have bare cupboards, they might just want to stock up. You might have to throw in like a prospect or something. Like I would do this, like, you know, I would trade, you know, like whoever, like a kidney well, not my own kidney, but the player Riley Kidney, 69, 101 for, like, you know, the 48th pick or something like that, right? I think be aggressive. If you can move up and secure a player that you have higher on your list, then I think you should do that. But let's go back to King's question because I don't want to rip him off. For Vincent Rohrer, you know, I did watch him on TV a bunch, like watching the 67s, and I live in Ottawa, so I went and saw a couple games. I've always been impressed with him. Like we talked about we talked about short and small. He's both short and small and kind of delicate, right? He had that really, really bad hit on him during the World Juniors as well. So he kind of had a bit of a rough year, but I think overall he came back from it pretty well. He's a very, very smart guy. Like, I think that's what really kind of drew the Canadians to him, is that, you know, those guys that just are good at everything they do. Like you could leave behind a flute at their house by accident, and then the next week you go to get it back and he's learned how to play the flute, right? Like he's just one of those guys that is very talented and very smart. And so it's hard to bet against someone who is that intelligent and that kind of committed. So if he commits himself to hockey as much as he commits himself to other things, like he was, I think, the Canadian Scholastic Player of the year that he was drafted. I always bet on guys that are committed to improving themselves, right? So I think he's a good prospect. I think there's a 35% chance maybe that he makes the NHL just because of his size.
By the way, he's right now in Switzerland, trying to make the team over there. So I'm not sure he's returned at OHL. If it's worst case, he can be back again. He's only his second year play in North America last season, by the way. This season. He have the same path, guy. If you follow a little bit prospect, he did exactly what MARKO Rossi did during his career. They are born close together. And Rossi played in Switzerland for a couple of years before that, and then they moved up over there. So that's the same situation with Vincent Rohrer. Again, this is a long shot for him. He's a really talented, skilled player, by the way, on the offensive side. But my biggest concern for everything for me is really Philippe Mézard. We have a couple of minutes. We want to shut down here, guys, at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock your time. And we're not going to a quiz tonight. We want to bring this tomorrow night. But how concerned are you with Philippe Mézard for that? Savard and Dubois together? Yeah, I'm telling you, they are in date tonight.
The HABS PR department must be just shitting their pants seeing this, right? Like,
oh yeah,
yeah, it's not good.
Absolutely,
it's awesome. It's awesome for us, but then, like, anyways, sorry, what was the question? That was very distracting.
My question about what do you think about Philippe Mézard? What would be what do you expect for Philippe Mézard? You know, if you look about all the prospects, they don't have a really good year. It's maybe the one really didn't have a really good one. Otherwise, everybody, you look about Engstrom, Nurmi, Tourigny. The only one is disappear now is Tichot. But the Montreal decided not to sign him. But how concerned are you about Philippe Mézard?
He had a bit of a, I mean, I think we have to give him a little bit of a mulligan because he did have a serious injury early on in the year, and that really set him back.
Really?
It looked like he took a flip and landed after a hit and landed almost on his head. It was the back of his neck, and he was out for a while.
Was it Vincent Rohrer though? That wasn't Mézard. That was Rohrer.
Oh, was it? Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was Mézard, but okay.
No,
I stand corrected if that's the case.
Yeah, Coach, like I think, looking back at that, late first round pick, I think for me, it was thinking that Montreal was going to pick, who is the right-handed Quebec D, Warner, was it, last year? You
The
remember?
what? Sorry.
So I think right where Montreal picked Mazar, I was thinking that they were going to take Warner, who is like a big right-handed defenseman. I think
Yeah, Warner picked by Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
Warren.
So to me, that's kind of the miss. That's who I thought they were going to be targeting. Or who's the other one? It was Lamoureux or whatever. There was two big right-handed.
Luno. You have Luno.
But he was left-handed, right? Luno was a left-handed
Yeah.
D, so I understand why they didn't go with him. But there was two right-handed D. I think it was Lamoureux, the guy that's like 6'6".
Yeah.
I think they both
They played with Drummondville.
Yeah, I think both of them got drafted by Anaheim. So to me, that's Mazar was completely out of left field when that happened last year. It was a really nice story, right? Like the reaction that Slafkovsky had when he found out, like it was a really nice story. You just hope that didn't influence why they took him, just because they wanted a buddy for Slafkovsky. Like I think I won't say it was completely off the board, Mazar, but certainly it's not who I was expecting that they were going to take there, right? So listen, like he showed some really nice flashes in training camp. Coach, I remember us doing those shows. There was people in the chat saying like he might make the team, right? So there's definitely some upside there, and he is very skillful. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I just want to give you, before ENORTAP talk about, I just want to give you a little bit what happened after that. Lamoureux was drafted at 29 and Mazar 26, and then Montreal didn't select the big center. Pisted, the forward 6'4" for them. Thanks so much, Jean-Marie Veilleux. Then after that, you got Jerry Kolich. This is a player I was really thinking that Montreal could get. He got out at 28. Yeah. Lambert was out at 30. And then Howard, it was under the one where the Tampa Bay got at 31 after that. The next one, you talk about Noah Warren, is a 42 overall pick by the, like I said, the Anaheim Ducks for that. I just want to clarify this. A lot of people in the chat talk about Mazar, guys. I want you to think, just need an adjustment. It was his first year. Hope Mazar turn is around, but he was never in that pick from the start. Coolidge or Lambert was still on. We have someone talk about Coolidge, Lambert. Before that, it was Victoria. You're absolutely right. Mark Mazar is very dynamic. I'm not worried about him. Mazar was very good at the World Junior Championship. You're absolutely right about that. His inconsistency is the word for me about Mazar this year. It was really, really a bad place with the team over there, with the coaches fight inside the locker room, and it was really dysfunctional team over there. So it was not really appropriate for him. Imagine you go from other, I've been that way. The language is not your first thing very well. Then you move into a new country. You don't know too many people. And then you see all those situations. You look at left and right, what the heck I'm doing here? So at the end of the day, it was not really a nice location for Mazar. And after you want to complete with that.
No, I was going to say it's difficult to say right now. I mean, he's still very young. He's very raw, but I think he does have very good skills. I think they could translate down the road for us. The problem, as you said, he wasn't in a very good environment, and that made a huge, huge difference in terms of his development. I think this is the kind of player that really needs that fostering. And I think he'll be fine. Could they have picked a better player? I mean, obviously, the aftermath of it all, we can always place players ahead of the ones that were drafted at a particular position. But I don't think it was a bad pick at that section. I still think we need just to give him some time, and it hopefully will pan out for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Just answer back to King about Jack Sparks, whatever you want to call him, last name. It was drafted by the Listen Kings, 180, 185, big, 6'3", 6'4", I believe it is. And he played USHL before that, last year, he got traded from to the Muskegon, if I can recall it. And then he's committed already to Michigan State University for him. King follow him a lot. He asked me a lot of questions about him. So how do you know him? It's because King asked me questions before, so I know about him. If not, I would not really know about him for sure. Nicholas, I would take Lulich for sure. A nightmare for him, but just like his side play, and of course, hope the best. Jerry, Philippe Mazar is only 19. I'm not worried yet about this. No, of course, we have to be careful about him for sure. If you follow a little bit more the NHL draft, guys, will be the 28, 29, 28, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll be live at 6:30 Eastern Time next week at the same, the next 7 days. And then we're going to follow the next day, the first 2 rounds of the NHL draft. For that, the Thursday, the 29. Don't forget, you are free July 1st. Will be another big day for the NHL draft. For the Montreal Canadiens, don't expect too much on UFA. The player they can lose at the UFA are Jonathan Drouin, Alex Belzile. There are 2 players right now. They can become a UFA for that. They did not give any contract to Kuryanov. Or Kuryanov could become a UFA at some point if there are no agreement with the Montreal Canadiens. Any other players I forgot? Of course, Paul Biron. For that.
I can't believe you forgot about Tierney, Coach.
Who?
Are you not Tierney, Joseph?
Well, Tierney, yeah.
Tierney, he'll be gone too.
Come on, you don't think he's the missing piece for us next year? No.
No, Hoffman.
Come on. No, hopefully he is a missing piece, but we'll see.
And expecting Mazar to have a solid year in 2024. We'll be interested where he's going to go. Nick Kulish will be a better player. He's not, but hopefully Mazar will finish in his second year. And hopefully will be the best. Yes, he's 6'7", king about this. Vous êtes content de voir. Merci beaucoup, Davey. Thanks to be with us for that part over there. And that guy, we hit the 2 hours again because people love. We're at the right time right now. It's 1 week before the NHL draft, so we'll be interested in what happening. We're going to follow everything. If you don't follow me a lot, if you're new here, we don't know too much about Hockey National Show. Guys, we do a video every single day at Daily News, release at 7 o'clock a.m. in the morning, so you can follow. And, of course, looking for a new channel. It's called the HABS Nation Live. We try to build another channel. Or not going to disappear here. We're just going to split with 2 locations. Well, so be something to follow up. If you want to talk only about the Montreal Canadiens, the HABS Nation, you're going to have 1 show per week in French, and the rest is going to be all English. So don't worry about this. People say, oh, you're going to be only in French. No. We're going to make 1 show per week in French. We're not sure going to do it. We're just testing right now if it's going to be possible for the Hockey Nation grow properly the right way. Last one works. We have a question here. Is the one worth keeping is under $2 million or let him walk? Mr. ENORTAP? Walk. About this will be the best way to go that way at the end of the show, guys, of this AB barbecue show. The barbecue show, Mr. Marco, about that one there. But before we leave, guys, we want to remind you, everybody, of course, they are. Both of them beside me, they are. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Yes, they have greatness inside of them, both Marco and ENORTAP. First of all, we want to thank all the moderators tonight to be at the show. We want to thank Luciano and RJ for everything they do in this side of the chat. And welcome back, guys. I was worried about him. Luc Laporson is back in the house of the Hockey National Show, and we want speed recovery for André Robert Drouin, another great supporter of the channel, and many people was in the chat with us tonight. We want to thank each one of you. Thanks to be a part of the Hockey National Show, and don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock for another Hockey Nation live streaming at 9 o'clock. Until then, my friend, and one more time, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what, Mr. ENORTAP?
You're 22.
He did it again. An amazing, great night, everybody. Look forward to see you next time. Good night, Marco. Good night, ENORTAP. See you next Wednesday.
so misguided.